بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
صلى على محمد
وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. I hope you can see the book on the screen.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, so we are on page 408, and as you remember, we were talking about hazar as one of the conditions. Basically, not to be a traveler, not to be a musafir, is a condition for validity of fasting. Then we said this would apply also to recommended fasting. Of course, we had discussions, but normally this is the case. But what about people who are in Medina? There seems to be an exception. It is recommended in some hadith that someone who is in Medina, even if it is for less than 10 days, they can fast. صوم ثلاثة أيام في المدينة المنورة. Fasting for 3 days in the holy city of Medina. المعروف بين الأصحاب استثناؤها. What is well known among our Shia jurists is excluding 3 days fasting in Medina from the general ruling. General ruling is that if you are not there for 10 days, you cannot fast. You are musafir. Unless the issue of nazr. Nazr is different. بل قال في الجواهر بلا خلاف أجده. The late Sahib Jawahir says, I don't find anyone disagreeing. This is more than ma'ruf or mashhur, yeah? He doesn't say it's ijma, but he says, I have not found anyone. So maybe he's not 100% sure that no one disagreed, but he says, I didn't find anyone disagreeing. If there is anyone, he says, I don't know, I am not aware. What is the basis of this fatwa? وتدل عليه صحيحة معاوية بن عمار عن أبي عبد الله عليه السلام. The hadith of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam narrated by Muawiyah ibn Ammar, and the whole chain of narrators is reliable, is sahih, indicates as follows. إن كان لك مقام بالمدينة. مقام is mastar mimi. You know that in Sulasi Mazid, mastar mimi is like ism maf'ul. Yeah? So, أقام يقيم مقام is ism maf'ul. Muqim is ism fa'il. But muqam can be used also for mastar mimi, even ism makan, ism alat, they can be all ism maf'ul. I mean the wazn is muf'al, for example, for bab if'al. Bab taf'il is mufa'al. إن كان لك مقام means إن كان لك إقامة بالمدينة ثلاثة أيام. If you have 3 days stay in Medina, صمت أول يوم الأربعاء وتصلي ليلة الأربعاء عند أسطوانة أبي لبابة وهي أسطوانة التوبة التي كان ربط إليها نفسه حتى نزل عذره من السماء وتقصد عندها يوم الأربعاء. So if you are 3 days there, so beginning of the day of Wednesday, okay, is beginning of your fasting. So you go next to the pillar of Abu Lubaba. Abu Lubaba, you know, fastened himself to that pillar till Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to the Prophet that he was forgiven. Rabata means to tie, to fasten. So he fastened, for example, with something like rope and said, I am not going to move. Either I, for example, die or I am forgiven. Udruhu, nazala udruhu. Udr means excuse, but here means he was excused. His tawbah was accepted. You go next to that ustuwana, that pillar, and make the niyyah of fasting. Taqsadu indaha yawm al-arba'a. So it shows that awwala yawm al-arba'a means before Fajr, because in Arab, in lunar calendar, you know, day starts from sunset the night before, like Laylatul Jum'ah. So here Yom is 24 hours. It seems that means the night before Wednesday. You go and make this salat and then make niyyah for fasting. ثم تأتي ليلة الخميس. This confirms what I said, that this means the night before. Then the night before Thursday, which comes after night for Wednesday, you go to maqam of the Prophet. تأتي ليلة الخميس التي تليها، يعني تلي ليلة الأربعاء. تأتي مقام النبي. مقام النبي, where the Prophet used to stand, like مقام Ibrahim. Maqam is where someone stands or stood. ليلتك ويومك وتصوم يوم الخميس. So in the night and the day you go there and you fast the day of Khamis. ثم تأتي الأسطوانة التي تلي مقام النبي ومصلاه. The next time you go to the pillar which is close to maqam of the Prophet and to his place of prayer. Now it is Laylatul Jum'ah. So Laylatul Arba'a, Laylatul Khamis, Laylatul Jum'ah. فتصلي عندها ليلتك ويومك وتصوم يوم الجمعة. خب, this hadith is sahih and recommends to fast 3 days in Medina. And it doesn't say, you know, you have to make niyyah of 10 days and staying 10 days in Medina. حكي عن المفيد رضوان الله عليه إلحاق باقي المشاهد بالمدينة. It has been reported. Here one, it says حكي. It's reported. It's relayed. He doesn't confirm himself, but he says it's reported that Sheikh Mufid added other shrines to Medina. There's holy places to Medina. وَهُوَ كَمَا تَرَى. But it is, as you see, I mean, it's not very strong, because this is about Medina. To say that it was as an example needs reason. وَهَلْ يَلْزَمُ أن يكون ذلك في يوم الأربعاء والخميس والجمعة. The next question, so it is about Medina. We cannot extend it unless a faqih is sure that this was an example. Medina was example. Mecca is the same, for example. Karbala, Najaf, if someone is sure. But if you want to going literally, we should limit it to Medina. And normally this fatwa of ulama, as much as I know they say it in Medina. But another question, in this hadith it was recommended that night of Wednesday you go there and do this, night of Thursday, night of Friday, day of Thursday, Friday, etc. So are all these details, especially Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, are these also very much part of this? For example, if someone is there Saturday, Sunday, Monday, can fast or not? هل يلزم أن يكون ذلك في يوم الأربعاء والخميس والجمعة? Does it need to be this fasting on these 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? المناسب ذلك. Sheikh Irwani says, what is suitable, what seems plausible is yes. Why? لأن ظاهر الصحيحة الاختصاص. When you do vasl, you say لأن ظاهر الصحيحة الاختصاص. Because we should go by Zahir. Zahir is Hujjah. If you want to say it's not restricted to these 3 days, you need either to have a proof or say, I can do Tanghih al-Manat, etc. Like Medina, we said, we have to go by the letter of the text. Here also the same. وَلَا أَقَلَّ مِنْ عَدَمِ ظُهُورِهَا فِي التَّعْمِيمِ. Even if you don't accept that it is Zahir في الاختصاص, the minimum is to say at least there is no zuhur in generality. So for the rest we have to go by the general rule. The difference is this. If we say it's Zahirun fil ikhtisas, we don't need to go to the general rule. What is general rule? General rule is that if you are somewhere less than 10 days, you cannot fast. As a musafir, less than 10 days, you cannot fast. Okay? This is general rule. If we say that this hadith is zahirun fil ikhtisas, means if someone is Saturday, Sunday, Monday, cannot fast. If you say it's not zahir fil ikhtisas, he says at least it is not zahir fil umum, then the result would be that you go to general rule. What is general rule? Is that you cannot fast unless you are there 10 days. So the result would be the same. Ala kila taqdirain, whether you accept it is zahirun fil ikhtisas or you say there is no zuhur, at least in umum, in both scenarios, both suppositions, لا يمكن الحكم بالتعميم. We cannot issue verdict and say it's general. It can be other days as well. لإطلاق ما دل على أن الصوم في السفر معصية وأنه ليس من البر الصوم في السفر. Because we have general rulings, and as long as you don't have proof, you have to go by them. That fasting when you are musafir is ma'asiyah. And it's not an act of goodness and piety to fast when you are musafir. Of course, we have a special definition of safar and all the details which are there. Allahumma illa an yuqta'a bi'adam al-farq. Unless someone has yaqeen. Qat'a means yaqeen. If someone is sure, there is yaqeen that there is no difference. Tanghih al-manat, we say, there's no difference. If it can be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if a faqih says, I'm 100% sure that other days also are possible. If someone is sure and has yaqeen, that's different. Sheikh Irwani says, وَهُوَ كَمَا تَرَى. How can you be sure? Maybe there is a khususiyya, there is a particularity about Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. ومن هنا يكون الحكم بالاختصاص أحوط. So to rule that it's only restricted to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is more compatible with precaution. Yeah, because we have general rule that it is ma'asiyah to make safar. Fasting in safar. Bal aqwa. Not only it is more precaution, but it is stronger because we said it is zahirun fil ikhtisas, or al aqal there is no zuhur in umum, and we have general dalil. خلافا للسيد اليزدي وجماعة, unlike صاحب Urve, Sayyid al-Yazdi, صاحب العروة الوثقى رحمة الله عليه, and some people حيث حكموا بالتعميم, they said it doesn't make a difference, it doesn't need to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, any 3 days you are in Medina, this would be applicable. Now we go back to our main issue about Hadar and Safar. We said one condition of validity of fasting is Hadar. Now there's a question. If someone travels after Zuhr, after Zawal, is after religious midday, okay? Because we shouldn't say 12 o'clock, for example. Maybe for many people 12 is midday, but for us it depends. Sometimes before 12, sometimes after 12, sometimes there is summertime, it's 1 o'clock. So we are talking about Zawal, which is a real thing when sun goes from the middle of the sky towards the west. Yeah, Zawal Shari. If someone travels after that, normally what is very common is that you fast up to Zuhr, and then if you travel after fasting, you continue your fasting. But if you travel before Zuhr, you fast up to the time that you reach Hadd Tarakhus, and then after that you break your fasting if it is before Zuhr. But it's after Zuhr, you keep your fasting. Okay, this is generally the fatwa. Now let us discuss this and see what options are there, what arguments are there, what positions are there. Al-ma'ruf bayna al-ashab sihhatu as-sawm idha kana as-safaru ba'da az-zawal. What is ma'ruf and mashhur and famous among our ashab, among our ulama, is that fasting is valid if travel is after Zuhr. وَيَقَعُ الْكَلَامِ فِي سُورَتَيْن. But we have to talk about two scenarios, two kind of conditions. الحاضر إذا أراد السفر. One is that you are in your own town and you want to travel. This month of Ramadan, you want to travel. Okay, travel after Dhuhr and your fasting is valid and you finish your fasting. Maybe you are in the plane and you break your fasting in the plane, for example, or you are traveling with the car. Whenever sun sets, wherever you are, your fasting completes. But sometimes it's not a person in his home or her hometown traveling. Sometimes you are returning to your hometown. So for example, you live in London, you have been abroad. Now it's month of Ramadan. If you arrive before Dhuhr and you have not eaten or drunk, etc., you make the niyyah of fasting and continue. But if you arrive after Dhuhr and you have been before traveling, so you cannot fast this day. So if you have two conditions, two options to discuss. One is a person who is present and wants to travel, Second is a person who's a traveler and wants to go to his watan or where he's going to be there for 10 days and wants to be there for iqamah. Al-Hadir إذا أراد السفر. First, we discuss the first option. When someone who is hadir and wants to travel. اختلفت الأقوال في حكمه. There are different opinions. Although we said what is ma'ruf, but there are other opinions. لاختلاف الروايات. Because there are different hadith and they have different implications. أما الروايات فهي على طوائف أربعة. There are 4 groups of hadith. الأولى, the first group, meaning الطائفة الأولى. The first group دلت على أن السفر إذا كان بعد الزوال فيلزم الصوم وإذا كان قبله يعني قبل الزوال فيلزم الإفطار. One group of hadith says that if you travel after Zuhr Shari, you must continue fasting. يلزم الصوم means صوم is lazim, is necessary. But if it is before Zawal, فيلزم الإفطار, you must break your fasting. When you have to break your fasting, as we said, that's another issue. For example, normally they say when you reach Hadd al-Tarakhus. So you cannot break your fasting at home. Okay? You cannot say because I'm traveling at 10 o'clock, so I will have my breakfast before at home. No. This is what we discussed later. كصحيحة الحلبي عن أبي عبد الله عليه السلام سئل عن الرجل يخرج من بيته يريد السفر وهو صائم. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam was asked about a person that leaves his home and willing to travel, but he's fasting. So when he leaves home, he's fasting. Imam alayhi salam, according to his hadith, said, إن خرج من قبل أن ينتصف النهار فليفطر وليقض ذلك اليوم وإن خرج بعد الزوال فليتم يومه. Imam alayhi salam, according to this hadith, said, if he leaves his home before midday, when the sun reaches middle of the sky, فَلْيُفْطِرْ, must break. And then later, when he is not musafir, should do qadha of this day. But if he leaves after dhuhr, then فَلْيُتِمَّ يَوْمًا. Of course, leaving watan, in many cases, the criteria is the city, not just the home, unless in certain conditions. So, this is Sahihiyya Halabi. It's very clear that before Zawal, you have one duty. After Zawal, you have another duty. Before, you cannot fast. After, you must fast. Is this the only hadith? No. وَنَحْبُهَا صَحِيحَةُ عُبَيْدِ بْنِ زُرَارَةَ وَمُوَثَّقَتُهُ يعني موثقية عبيد. Both he has Sahih and Muwathaqa. Also Sahihatu Muhammad ibn Muslim. So we have 3 Sahiha and 1 Muwathaqa at least for the first idea. Al-Thaniya means At-Ta'ifatu Al-Thaniya. The second group of hadith is this. دلت على أن المكلف إن حدث نفسه ليلا بالسفر لزمه الإفطار وإلا لزمه الصوم. The second group of hadith says that the mukallaf, if in the night before has talked to himself, means has had the intention of fasting, intention of traveling, and has talked to himself about traveling, he's had the intention of traveling, safar, even if it is not Zohr, maybe it's after Zohr, whatever, they say when in the night before you knew that you are traveling during the day, then you cannot fast. You should do iftar, because niyyah of being there is needed for being able to make niyyah of fasting. But if there was no such a thing in the night before, no plan for traveling, lazimahu as-sawm, then has to fast. Doesn't also distinguish between before or after Zawal. كموثقة علي بن يقطين أن أبي الحسن موسى بن جعفر، موسى يعني موسى بن جعفر عليهما السلام، الرجل يسافر في شهر رمضان أيفطر في منزله. Ali ibn Yaqtin asked Imam Kazim, according to this hadith, someone travels in the months of Ramadan, is a musafir, and this person knew that, or take it for granted, that this person has to break fasting, because musafir. But the question was, where? أيفطر في منزله, he breaks his fasting from home, or after certain distance being traveled. قال إذا حدث نفسه في الليل بالسفر أفطر إذا خرج من منزله وإن لم يحدث نفسه من ليلته ثم بدا له في السفر من يومه أتم صومه. You know the concept of bada. In aqaid we have bada. Bada is similar to naskh. Naskh, abrogation, is in tashri', in legislation. Bada is in takween. Yeah, bada is like, for example, a very famous case in our hadith is that people thought that after Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Ismail, his son, would be next Imam. Some people thought, but Ismail died before Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Of course, Allah knew, and this was already mentioned by the Prophet, that Imam Kazim would be. But many people thought Allah is going to make Ismail, those who were not very familiar with the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, they thought like that. Or, for example, maybe someone is going to die, then gives sadaqah. You know the examples we talked about. The story of Hazrat Isa, the wedding of someone, the story of someone who was going outside Medina, and the Prophet, informed that he's going to die. He was going to collect wood and logs. And then he came back, he was okay, and then the Prophet said, open your bag, the back, there was a snake, but because he had given sadaqah, he was protected. So these are cases of bada. Okay, so you are familiar with bada. So here, Imam says, إذا حدث نفسه في الليل بالسفر, if in the night talk to himself about safar, means he had plan for traveling. Okay, aftara, he breaks his fasting. إذا خرج من منزله, when he goes out of home. When he's in home, no, but when he actually starts journey, breaks fasting. But إن لم يحدث نفسه من ليلته ثم بدا له في السفر, he had no plan. He didn't, have this idea in his mind that I travel next day, but his mind changed. Bada happened for him. Means his idea changed. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, change is in expressing, not in changing his mind, because he has new information or he realized that it wasn't a good decision. It's in expression, in making something appear. But for us, we many times may change our mind. خب had no intention in the night, then during the day بدا له في السفر من يومه, during that day change his mind that I should travel. In this case أتم صومه, he would complete his fasting. Similar to this hadith that we have, this موثقه علی بن یقطین نحوها روایتان او ثلاث و روایت صفوان. There are also hadiths which are not very similar but the same concept, the same idea, from Safwan, روایت Abi Basir و روایته الأخرى. Abu Basir has two hadith لكنها كلها ضعيفة بالإرسال. But all the ahadith that we have to support second opinion are mursal, apart from this muwassaqi. So we have muwassaqi Ali ibn Yaqtin, but the rest are mursal. There is no complete chain. الثالثة الطائفة الثالثة دلت على أن السفر إذا إن كان قبل الفجر لزم الإفطار وإن كان بعده لزم الصوم. Instead of focusing on zawal, here focuses on fajr. If you travel before fajr, then you must break, you cannot fast. But if when fajr happened, you were present, your fasting started, and then you travel afterwards, you continue your fasting. This is the third group. كموثقة السماعة سألته عن رجل كيف يصنع إذا أراد السفر. I asked him, meaning معصوم, what does he do if he wants to travel? قال إذا طلع الفجر. If Fajr happens, ولم يشخص. I think it's يشخص or يشخص, I have to check. I think it should be لم يشخص, means, and he has not yet traveled. شخوص. He has not traveled yet. Fajr is, for example, 4 a.m. It's now 4:30, 5, 6. He has not traveled. فَعَلَيْهِ الصِّيَامُ ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمِ. He must fast that day. But if Fajr is 4 a.m. and before 4 a.m. he leaves home, خَرَجَ مِنْ أَهْلِهِ قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الْفَجْرِ فَلْيُفْطِرْ. Then breaks his fasting. Means that day he should be not fasting. If before Fajr, fasting has not started, and after Fajr also he is not at home, so he must eat that, must not, he must not make niyyah of fasting. وَقَرِيبٌ مِنْهَا مُوَثَّقَتُهُ الْأُخْرَى. There is another muwassaqa by Sama'a, which is similar to this one. Also, Riwayat Sulaiman ibn Ja'far al-Ja'fari. That is also similar. Maybe we can understand it also from Sahih Rafa'ah. ربما يستفاد ذلك من صحيح الرفاعة. What is Sahih Rafa'ah? سألت أبا عبد الله عليه السلام عن الرجل يعرض له السفر في شهر رمضان حين يصبح. I asked Imam alayhi salam that for someone يعرض means he didn't have plan. This occurs, this happens, that when he starts morning, يصبح, for example, after sunrise, so soap normally is used for when sun rises. It's not, maybe sometimes it's after Fajr, but many times after sunrises. Anyway, after Fajr at least. The minimum is after Fajr. يعرض له السفر. So at the time of Fajr and before Fajr, there was no plan for traveling. Imam alayhi salam said, يُتِمُّ صَوْمَهُ يَوْمَهُ ذَلِكَ. he completes the fasting of his day, that day. ذَلِكَ means that day. Apparently, this seems also to suggest the same thing, that because he didn't have plan, and after Subh started, he had to plan to travel, or decided to travel, then fasting is okay. نعم دلت صحيحته الأخرى على التخيير. Rifa'a has another sahih which is different from the rest of hadith in this third group. Gives option. سألت أبا عبد الله عليه السلام عن الرجل يريد السفر في رمضان. I asked Imam Sadiq, someone who wants to travel in the months of Ramadan. قال إذا أصبح في بلده ثم خرجه فإن شاء صام وإن شاء أفطر. If when Subh comes, he is in his own city, his own watan, and then afterwards ثم خرجه. So, for example, at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, or in the afternoon, doesn't specify. He has option. إن شاء صام. If he wants, he continues fasting. وإن شاء أفطر. If he wants to break, he can break. It gives choice. The fourth and the last, because we said there are أربعة طوائف, 4 types of hadith. الرابع يعني الطائفة الرابعة دلت على أن السفر مطلقا ولو قبيل الغروب يوجب الإفطار. Some hadith says that no matter when you travel, we said ma'ruf, mashhur is if you travel after Zuhr, it has no issue. Fasting has to be continued and is accepted. Yeah, as one day. We don't need qada, etc. After Zuhr. These people say even if 5 minutes before Maghrib, your plane departs, for example, or you go by car, etc. Anyway, anything, even if it is qubayl al-ghurub. Qubayl is musaqqar for qabla, means shortly before. Qabla means before, but qubayl means shortly before ghurub, sunset. يوجب الإفطار. وهي رواية عبد الأعلى مولى آل سام. Abdul A'la, who was a servant or a slave for Al Sam, he has narrated these. الرجل يريد السفر في شهر رمضان. He asked about someone that wants to travel in the months of Ramadan. He says the answer was يفطر وإن خرج قبل أن تغيب الشمس بقليل. He breaks, means he must break. His muzara means amr. He breaks, means he must break, even if he leaves before sun sets, بقليل, just little before Maghrib. But the thing is that is Abdul A'la lam yuwathaq. Therefore, we didn't say it is muwathaqa. It's not sahiha. It's not even muwathaqa. We just said riwayah to Abdul A'la. So, all the hadiths that are about this case are divided into 4 groups. And based on that, whether they accept the sanad, the chain, the dalala, etc., ulama have different opinions. We said what is ma'ruf already, but there are other opinions as well. أما الأقوال فالمهم منها خمسة. Most important opinions and fatawa are 5. There are more, but 5 are the most important. Number 1, وجوب الافطار بالسفر ولو قبيل الغروب. This is one view which we just mentioned, can be understood from this Riwayat Abdul A'la, if someone accepts it, that when you travel you have to break even if it is shortly before Maghrib. This is one of it. Who has gone to this? ذهب إليه السيد وعلي بن بابوي وابن أبي عقيل وابن إدريس. It seems that he means by Sayyid Murtada وعلي بن بابوي وابن أبي عقيل وابن إدريس. From early scholars they have this opinion. Number 2, وجوب الافطار بالسفر قبل الزوال مطلقا ووجوب الاتمام اذا كان بعده مطلقا. If before Zuhr travels, must, or you can say it's possible to must break if it's before. But if it is after Zawal, must complete. Mutlaqa, always remember, Mutlaqa, many times when Fuqaha are mentioning opinions and first they say Mutlaqa, normally what is not Mutlaq is mentioned later. Don't look for it before. You may not find anything before. It comes later. You find something similar but with tafsil. So the second opinion is mutlaqa. So you wonder, what is mutlaqa? Yeah? It will come later, become more clear. Now you can say, in all circumstances, if it is before Zawal, you break. If it is after Zawal, you fast. But inshallah we will explain what is tafsir, what is not mutlaq. ذهب إليه الشيخ المفيد ابن الجنيد أبو الصلاح إلا أن الأخير أوجب الإمساك بالقضاء إذا كان الخروج بعد الزوال. Sheikh Mufid wa Ibn Junayd wa Abu Salah, they share what we said, but Abu Salah says, although this person has to fast if travels after Zuhr, you must fast. Sheikh Mufid says you must fast. Ibn Junayd says you must fast. But Sheikh Mufid says then you don't need to do qaza, it's enough. Ibn Junayd says you don't need to do qaza, it's enough. But Abu Salah says you must fast, means you cannot eat and drink, but this is not enough. You have to do qadha as well. Maybe he was not sure, he wanted to do ihtiyat, wajib, whatever. So, إلا أن الأخيرة يعني أبو الصلاح الحلبي أوجب الإمساك بالقضاء إذا كان الخروج بعد الزوال. He says, if it is in the morning, of course, iftar. If it is after zawal, imsak, you must fast, but do qadha. 3. In bayyatan niyyah. Bayyata means if in the night, means as he spent night with this niyyah. Bayyata. Bata yabitu means to spend night, yeah? Baytuta. Laylatul mabit, for the night that Amir al-Mu'minin slept in the house of the Prophet so that he can migrate. It's called Laylatul mabit. In bayyatan niyyah lazim al-iftar. If in the night had niyyah of safar, must break. Walau safara ba'da zawal, even if travels after zawal. Wa illa wajib as-sawm, otherwise must fast. Walau safara qabla, even if travels before Zuhr. For them, Zuhr and after Zuhr doesn't make big difference. For them, the main thing is, does it have niyyah in the night before to travel or not? Yes. نعم مع تبییتها والخروج بعد الزوال, if has niyyah of traveling but travels after Zuhr, unlike Mashhur, Sheikh Tusi in Nihaya, who has this opinion, he says يلزم الإمساك والقضاء. يلزم الإمساك because it's after Zawal. يلزم القضاء because in the night had niyyah of traveling. You see? So it's mixed. ذهب إليه الشيخ في النهاية, يعني Sheikh Tusi in Nihaya, because Sheikh Tusi in other books may have another opinion. For example, in Tahzib, Istibsar, Mabsut, we will see he has other opinions. Because they were mujtahid and their idea could change. Four. إِلَّمْ يُبَيِّتْهَا, if didn't have niyyah of safar, لَذِمَ الصَّوْمُ مُطْلَقًا, must fast in all circumstances. وَإِلَّا, but if had the niyyah, فَإِنْ سَافَرَ قَبْلَ الزَّوَالِ لَزِمَ الْإِفْطَارِ وَإِنْ سَافَرَ بَعْدَ الزَّوَالِ تَخَيَّرَ, if travels before Zuhr, then cannot fast, must eat or drink, break, but anyway. وَإِنْ سَافَرَ بَعْدَهُ بَعْدَ الزَّوَالِ تَخَيَّرَ, has choice, can continue fasting, can also break. ذهب إليه الشيخ في التحذيب والاستبصار. Two of our كتب أربعة are compiled by Sheikh Tusi. Although these are كتب hadith, but he also gives his opinion. Even sometimes in the title of the chapters, you can see his opinion. Number 5. إن بيت وخرج قبل الزوال, if had the niyyah in the night and goes before zawal, lazim al-iftar, must break. وَإِلَّا فَلَا, in any other circumstances, no. Whether it's traveling after with bayyata or lam yubayyat aslan. ذهب إليه الشيخ في المبسوط. Mabsut is a very important book in the history of fiqh, because it is the maybe first extended comprehensive book on fiqh istidlali for Shia. This is very important in the history of fiqh. خب تحقیق الحال, what is the right opinion? Inshallah, we discuss this in the next session. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.